Hello, welcome to the last review show. My name is David Edgecombe and I'm joined today by my two film and telly experts,
Joel Linger
and
Roy Verlandschoot.
And I will be your host and resident film / TV / celluloid / whatever idiot, absolute, dunce, idiot, no nothing. So today we are going to be we're going to be discussing two things. We'll be discussing Wonder Woman and episodes 2, 3 and 4.
Correct, yes.
Of The Handmaid's Tale. Before we start, you can find us on Twitter at Last Review Show. Go to YouTube, and if you're probably watching on YouTube already, so you've already found us, but Last Review Show, search that on YouTube, and go to lastreviewshow.com, which is our lovely blog. So, without further ado, because there has been much ado, we're going to move on to talking about Wonder Woman. And we have lots of spoilers, by the way. So if you haven't seen us, as usual, so if you haven't seen us before or heard us before, then get ready for some spoilers. So if you haven't seen Wonder Woman, go and see Wonder Woman. If you haven't seen The Handmaid's Tale, well, you should be on it already. What are you doing with your life?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, Wonder Woman.
Yes,
Roy.
Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman, directed by Patty Jenkins, who made Monster a long time ago. It was an Oscar-winning movie. The Oscar was for
Charlize
Theron. Wonder Woman is played by Gal Gadot.
Gadot.
Gadot. And the movie is about one of the big female superheroes from the DC universe, and it is the origin story of Wonder Woman. You see the beginning of the movie. It's about from child on, about Diana, Princess Diana, who lives in an Amazonian island somewhere nobody knows. And we see her slowly become Wonder Woman, which does the movie. The movie does it quite well, though. It's not okay, there she is in 5 minutes. You see some Amazonian island, but it really takes its time. And over to you guys. What did you think about the movie? Or at least your
What I thought about the film, well, like you said, the origin story. Thankfully, we haven't seen Wonder Woman before on the big screen. So, for example, when we get a new Spider-Man film this month, it's already out everywhere except for Germany.
There's another one.
Yeah, Spider-Man Homecoming. Then everybody's like, yeah, we know Uncle Ben dies, I don't give a shit anymore. But Wonder Woman, we haven't seen that origin story on the big screen yet, so in that sense it's refreshing. And I think it's the first time in a long time, maybe even since Elektra, I think that it's a female superhero that's the main, it's about a female superhero. Yeah. And that I think it's a good thing, and I liked it from the beginning, like you said. They take it slowly. We see her first as a little girl, then I even think we see her maybe in her, when she's like a teenager, I think, or early teens. I think there are a couple of scenes in there, and then later we see her growing up, but still she is. We see her on the island getting chained by General Antiope and being protected by her mother, Queen Hippolyta. And I really like the stuff on the island, I must say. It's not because there's only women there. Some of them are pretty nice to look at. I won't deny that. But okay.
You can say they're fit. It's fine.
Yeah,
we're all friends here.
Yes, they're definitely fit. And I like that story, but it also doesn't drag on. You know what I mean? Like, I think they spend just the right amount of time on the island to establish what it's like on the island, to establish that Diana doesn't know what she is, and that she's been protected by her mother, Queen Hippolyta, and then of course Chris Pine's character crashes down on the island or near the island, and ends up on the island. Now, one thing that I didn't know because I didn't read the comics is that in the trailers you see that he, his plane crashed near the island and he's saved by the Amazonians, and then in the trailer that's all you see. I didn't realize that the people that are chasing him also end up on the island. I didn't know that. So straight when he arrived there's a battle, and I wasn't sort of expecting that was going to happen. So I thought that was interesting, and I must say overall that I was very entertained by the film. I was not happy with Gal Gadot being casted because being cast as Wonder Woman because not because she's a model, she's like one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen, but I wasn't sure about her acting abilities, and also maybe she was a little bit too skinny, to be badass as Wonder Woman, but she pulls it off, and Chris Pine is good. I was happy with the film, definitely.
Yeah, for me it was also. To give you some context, I do like superhero movies, but I also see the difference between some superhero movie is better than the other, and there's of course for long now, for already 5 years, has been this sort of battle between DC superhero movies and Marvel superhero movies, and it seems that Marvel superhero movies their quality in general seems to be higher than the DC super movies which are there, and so my expectations were low because it was, first of all, was a DC movie, and second of all, lots of the people involved, the makers and the main actors were quite unknown, or didn't show their quality in other movies yet, except for Chris Pine. Now, Chris Pine was like for me, okay, that's okay. The guy has showed his rep, and but the movie itself, it took its time, and also it seemed to drag its style, and its theme seemed to be a little bit less obvious than some of the other DC movies. It was it's still like stating things like many superhero movies, but it was also a lot more about these little scenes and making jokes about her origins, and especially her encounter. So she's from this Amazonian place, this very mythical place, and she's actually a demigoddess. So this demigoddess is suddenly, because of her contact with the Chris Pine character, she basically is forced to go off the island, and is thrown into this other world, which is the beginning of the 20th century, during the First World War, and then you see all these these little scenes where she acts the way she is used to, but of course the rest of the world is just totally different. And
how is that?
Oh, that is.
I haven't seen it.
It's really played. It's mostly played for fun, but there are also some winky eyes, like women are treated as inferior in the Western world at that time.
For example, there's this council taking place where they discuss the war and the action
war
they're
room,
going to take, the war room, and then she bursts in there, and everybody's like, what is a woman doing in here? Things like that, and she's
it's a laser woman.
Yeah, so everyone's like shocked, but she doesn't understand, and then she also understands why Chris Pine's character, instead of standing up for her, he sort of ushers her out, and she's like, why are you letting me, why are you're letting them remove me from this room? It doesn't make any sense, and things like that. But it's also done in a, like you said, in a funny way. I think that's part of the highlights of the film, because he's super naive and she's super bewildered in the world where she ends up in. I think that plays off well.
Yeah. Okay.
Without becoming sort of like preachy or anything, like, okay, this was bad, but
well, but there are still parallels today. It's not like it doesn't happen now. Right, essentially, in any boardroom in the world, right? It's just full of old white men, right? So
absolutely.
You could say why do you make these these jabs at people in the beginning of the 20th century? But I think
in order to make jabs at people now, it's like we'll see in The Handmaid's Tale, you use a different setting to comment on today.
Yeah.
Right.
So active people, they laugh, but then hopefully there's an afterthought. Is it that different today?
Yeah.
I mean, Wonder Woman is not about
It's not a political thing, no.
It's not
It
used
became
political.
political though, right? I guess.
No, I mean
In everything that
Yeah,
surrounded Wonder Woman.
yeah, during the production it clearly was, during the advertising, etc. But
And
also the movie.
controversies.
The movie
What
is,
were the controversies?
No, one was really silly. Sorry. To
No,
cut you
just
off.
go ahead.
One that really bothered me was about the fact that Wonder Woman didn't have any armpit hair. You know, it was supposed to be feminist. You know, like then that's silly. Why does she shave her armpits? Well, if you look at it from a historical perspective, like okay, maybe on the island, I don't know, but Themyscira doesn't exist, so nobody can know if they would have armpit hair or not. But like apparently, as I've read, personal hygiene was already, or I shouldn't say personal hygiene, the standards were already there that women shaved themselves in the early 20th century. That's actually the case. So actually, it would be weird for her to be the only person having armpit hair in early 20th century London, for example. So it wasn't strange for women to shave their armpits in 1915 or 1910. You know what I mean? So that's one thing. The second controversy was about the female-only screenings. Yeah, because then some men were like pissed that there were only screenings for women, and you know that was silly, and that was the whole thing, and then people had to apologize, and you know how it goes.
Why would you care? I don't see I don't care if someone wants to have a women-only screening. Yeah, fine.
I think it's super silly. With one minor point is that, for example, here in Germany you have like, for example, the men's screenings, you know, where big blockbuster Vin Diesel films, you know, and
they're marketed towards men. It's like men evening.
Exactly, and then you have the girly evening with Girls Night Out, Rough Night, whatever these female hangover movies are called, and then it's marketed to women. But the only difference is, you know, that men are allowed to go, even though they probably won't. Only the guy that is forced by his wife to go with her.
It's marketed towards women.
Yeah, and girls can also go to the men nights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing. And I think those female-only screenings were literally the men were not allowed in. You know what I mean? And that.
I mean, that's just a bit. I think it's just a bit silly because you're in the dark, right? You're not looking at a man, and
At the screen then.
I mean, I get it. Maybe there are some women who don't like being in the dark with men. Is that the point? I don't see what the point would be.
Me neither. And for me, like,
is it so women feel safe so that a man isn't going to jeer in the middle of the film and go, no, I hate women. What's the?
I feel like you know Wonder Woman, you know, sort of like stands for feminism. It's a female superhero movie. It empowers women. So let's do it with women only. I don't know. Now that you ask it, I wonder why the screenings were there in the first place.
I mean, it could be a bit of fun if it's all women, right? If you're a woman and you go with, I mean, I know with three guys discussing this, so maybe we need a woman involved. But I do feel like, it would be a bit of fun maybe if it's all women. It's just there's that excitement. Do you see?
I think actually there was like an earlier controversy which was directly, indirectly also related to the movie, was that Wonder Woman as a character, as a symbol, was chosen for a while by the United Nations as the feminist, which was actually retracted.
Yeah, but that was silly. So the UN chooses, I think, every year, like a person who's like a symbol of female empowerment.
Yeah, female empowerment.
And they chose Wonder Woman.
A fictional bloody character.
Exactly.
Chooses many of the real women who do great things.
And rightfully so, they were ridiculed for that.
Yeah, rightfully so.
That was really like one of the dumbest decisions ever. And then they cancelled it.
Within that committee.
Yeah.
Let's not make it too broad. But
Okay. Well, it is pretty ridiculous.
No, it is. I agree. It was ridiculous. Yeah. You could have chosen so many great symbols, but anyway, but not Wonder Woman.
But aside from the controversies, you know, I do think that they did manage to have it balanced. So, like what Roy just said, with the jokes and the winks towards, you know, how things were back then, it wasn't preachy. I think, and they also try to show, you know, that Wonder Woman and Diana, it's basically they are independent.
Yeah.
But they also don't do it. Okay, it's not subtle, you know, but it also didn't bother me. Maybe only one point, you know, where Chris Pine's character said, I think Steve Trevor is his name, he said, you know, that she shouldn't do something, and she does it anyway. And he says like, "Yeah, I don't need you to tell me what to do." And I'm like, "Okay, that was." She didn't have to say that because she was already doing it. You know what I mean? So
It's your show don't tell thing again.
exactly,
right?
yeah. You know, she was already like, you know, whatever. I'm.
No, but it's a superhero
Yeah,
film.
yeah,
That
that's
you have
also-
to say crap lines like that. It's mandatory in a superhero film that you say bad lines. That's just the rule,
That is
right?
that
And
is
you have to
yeah.
have to explain to an audience in a. I feel like I'm sorry, in a superhero film, you have to. You can't take the audience's intelligence for granted. You really need to feed it to them. I was gonna say force feed them, but then I felt like there was like a suffragette thing going on, and I decided to stop. But you have to chew the food for the audience, and then regurgitate it into their mouths.
Maybe yes, you're definitely right.
Sparrows.
But I thought like, come on, you know, like I mean, it was enough. Her action was enough. Her look on her face was enough.
Yeah.
She didn't have to say it like that. But other than that, it didn't bother me. You know, that here and there they did some unsubtle, you know, feminist Diana independent type stuff. It didn't bother me. What about you, Roy?
No, it didn't really bother me. No.
Mhm.
No, I like what I actually. I mean, it's not really. You cannot really see it loose from each other. But I just also like how the choreography was of the action scenes, and then I was also thinking in comparison to the other DC superhero movies, which are not like visually are impressive, but sometimes very cluttered, and this all seemed to be, you know, it's more like also when she was fighting, even like a sort of superhuman being, this fantasy. Also, these action scenes were quite straight to the point, and you saw like, you know. I really liked that, how it was portrayed in comparison to some other superhero movies.
Especially in Belgium, I think the way where she, you know, there's a scene in Belgium where actually the Belgians are speaking Dutch. You know what I mean?
The
so
Flemish
that
Belgians.
that was.
But they're speaking Dutch and not Flemish.
Yes.
Yeah, Flemish.
Also-
Flemish. They're
also-
speaking
Sorry,
Flemish, but
okay, sorry,
Flemish is not a language.
Yeah, I know
So,
that. But are they speaking Flemish, or are they
Yes.
speaking Dutch?
Yeah, they have.
No, they're speaking Flemish, Dutch,
Okay.
basically.
Yes, Flemish.
And then she, you know, there's a
More
sniper, you know, left who's shooting people, and then she basically, they have a sniper with them as well, the good guys, but he cannot take the shot, and then Chris Pine's character does a move he saw Robin Wright's character do on the island, on Themyscira, and then she jumps on the shield, and then she just jumps all the way up to the tower and totally destroys it. Like, I mean, it's totally awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, that moment and the moment where she throws a car, is it, or a truck?
Yeah, it's a German sniper, so you can do that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I can say.
And then she chose the truck or a car for the first time. These 2 moments are really like awesome, you know, like these are really cool moments in. And Wonder Woman is a really cool character. I mean, she was the best part out of Batman vs Superman. You know, like she was sort of what made the movie watchable, because without her it might have been unwatchable. And I really, I was really impressed, but also because my expectations, like Roy, were low.
Okay.
You know, so that's also why I definitely was impressed with it. The only negative thing I have to say about it is, well, one minor thing, and that's like all the Germans are not German, you know, except for maybe one or two minor
but
not even side characters. There are like what do you say, figuranten? How do you say that?
yeah,
in
but
English?
not, they were extras, but they were
Extras
I think-
with lines,
I
you know
think
what I
there
mean?
was a-
Like, but they're really not, like, I mean, Danny Huston, I like him,
Yeah.
you know, but he's like the main German guy, you know, and he's like not German, obviously. He's very British.
Yes, but
Plenty of Germans
that could
to
also
go
be
around.
a thing.
Exactly.
That could also be a
We
thing.
live there. We know.
Because he, Danny Houston plays this, like he plays the evil German soldier among the German army, who are not all evil, because you have this scene where he basically wipes out like a whole mini conference at the front of the First World War of generals. He wipes them out because they don't agree with him. They don't want to push through because back home they're saying stop the war and we are in shit. But he wants to, you know, he's being manipulated by the god Mars, Ares,
Yeah.
Ares. It was the Latin name.
yeah.
But I mean, we forgot to tell this. Of course, there's still like all these mythological elements from the Diana world, from Princess Diana, from Wonder Woman's world.
Roman mythology.
Yeah, no, from more from Greek, I think.
No, Ares is Roman. No, hang on. Ares is Greek. No, Mars is Roman,
yes,
right?
yes.
Okay, sorry.
Anyway, that's okay.
My bad.
Anyway, so that keeps playing in the background, and she believes in this stuff, or she lives this stuff even. But all the other characters around her, they think, yeah, like we live in the modern world, and we all stop believing in this bullshit, but we still kill each other, on the battlefield, like it's like it's nothing.
We should move it along
Yeah.
shortly. So, do you got any?
Yeah, well, that's a good thing you mentioned was, like they, what they did was with Ares and everything, like the point they made was Diana was convinced that they were all under the influence of Ares, and if Ares would die, then, everybody would just hug it out and there'd be no more war. But then she realizes later that, mankind is also like that themselves.
Yeah.
Even without Ares, they would still be fighting each other, So I think the way they handled that was nice. I still don't agree with you. They should have cast more Germans, definitely, on that part. And the final scene, the final fight was the only thing I didn't like that much.
It was basically Zack Snyder.
Zack Snyder,
Zack Snyder.
Destruction first, not as massive. No cities got destroyed, but still.
Yeah, but Belgium though. But he probably.
But
thought, okay,
the
First World War is already destroying Belgium, so I can do that.
Yeah, probably. But it was not in the same vein of the other. Major catastrophes, but I felt that the final battle, was a little bit stood out in a negative way if you look at the overall film. Other than that, I say it's a very, very well done, and I was very pleased with Wonder Woman.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I want to also say it was also the aesthetic of that final battle scene, which was just also a bit muddled, and then it starts to be like, for me, it starts to look like there are two big shiny lights. One is an evil light and the other one is the good force, and then they just jump into each other as if you're like playing this video game where the graphics are slightly muddled. But yeah, it's a pity. I did like David Thewlis, who can play these kind of characters like without any second thought. He just does it. David Thewlis, he is like an actor who played lots of different stuff, art house movies. He was in Harry Potter in small roles.
He's Ares, right?
Yeah, Ares, yeah. He plays... and Ares in this movie is then eventually somebody on the side of the Allies. So he takes somebody over from the Allies, as he's an Englishman. It's like, and he also, when he first meets Diana, he kind of supports her as if he knows her. Which is kind of funny, this is a huge spoiler, but there were these little hints that they have a special connection, and he wasn't reacting to her as, oh, she's a woman in our society, she can't be here. He was like, no, almost acting like a more modern English gentleman, like, oh yeah, also women should be allowed. But in the end, he was one of her bad uncles.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the more shitty in the family.
And Dr. Poison, though, she was also British, wasn't she?
No, she's Spanish.
Dr. Poison.
But she wasn't German, anyway.
No, she was
Is that her real
surname?
No, she was in
of the character.
one of her more, famous. I don't know. It's a movie, The Skin I Live In, from Pedro Almodovar.
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Great. Also very beautiful lady.
Yeah. But not German, anyway.
No, not German.
Okay.
Okay, so that was Wonder Woman. Handmaid's Tale. Handmaid's Tale episodes 2 to 4.
Yes.
What are they called?
So the episodes were birthday, 2 words, late, and Nolite Te Bastardes Carborundorum.
Which means?
Something like let the bastards.
Don't let the bastards get you down.
Grind you.
Yeah.
Don't let the bastards, grind you down.
Grind you down. Yeah. That's what he said. So those 3 episodes were the first 2 were episode 2 and 3 were directed again by Reed Morano, who also directed the first episode, and those were written by Bruce Miller. And the episode 4 was actually directed by Bruce Miller, who has done Fargo and Broadchurch and Outlander, to name 3 series he's worked on.
Look at that.
And Leila Gerstein has written episode 4, so the Bastardly episode.
Yeah.
And she has done, among other stuff, The O.C., Heart of Dixie, and Gossip Girl.
Okay. And what happens in these episodes?
Yeah. Well, basically,
A lot.
a lot, actually.
That's also something which stands out in the series. There's relentlessly subplots and...
Oh, I discussed what happened.
Yeah.
I also wanted to take it
Do that
straight
first.
into to what I liked, because we see more about a little bit more about what happened.
Mm.
You know, so for example, we see Moira and Jesus, what's Alfred's name?
What is her name? Elizabeth Moss.
Yes.
Yeah, oh, you mean the actress? Of
Yeah.
You mean her name before she was
Yeah,
called?
yeah,
Yeah.
real name. Anyway, Alfred. Then you see them going for a run,
Mhm.
and then they want to order a coffee, and then the girl who used to work there is not there, but some douchebag is there,
Yeah.
and then all of a sudden they cannot use their card. It was
Yeah.
not accepted, and the guy's being really rude and calls them sluts and things like that. Even while they were running, I think they were called sluts. What they were.
No, they were
out
not
for
called. They were frowned upon by another lady, because
Oh, everybody's staring at them, yeah.
because she was running around with cleavage. You know, she was doing a run.
Cleavage, not.
It was not.
Come on.
And, but that's the thing. That's
But she was really like not showing anything.
but that's the thing. That's what I wanted to show. She was saying in the beginning, like, we should have seen this coming. Never happened suddenly. These big changes in society, but it's slowly.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's
So
true.
one of these things, there's one of these things where hints of that society was becoming at least more conservative.
Yes, that's
A
true.
lot more conservative.
Yes. Anyway, then the cards don't work, and then they find out that women are not able to use their bank accounts anymore. Only
Mhm.
Yeah,
men
and have
can.
a job. And
So,
have a
yeah,
job.
that happens later. Well, I was getting to that.
That's right.
That's okay. So then only a man can access those funds. So then, later we see, like you said, all the women getting fired at the office place, and then the manager says like, yeah, it's the law, there's nothing he can do
Mhm.
about it. So all the women are told to leave because they're not allowed to have a job anymore. We also see in a flashback then that Moira and pre-Alfred go to a rally, where they
Mhm.
demonstrate the new system against the new system, and then they not only are shot on, but they start using explosives and tanks and everything.
It's sharp. Yeah.
They don't care, like they
Yeah.
start killing people, like they go crazy. So the regime is quite tough. We also see the one-eyed girl, giving birth. That's an interesting scene.
That's another. Is it the same?
It's not episode 1. No, that's actually
episode 2, I think.
that's actually
the birth.
2.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see giving birth, and I mean there's so much that happened in those episodes. So let's not fully recap everything, but there's really a lot that happens in this episode. And one of the things I like is to comment on those flashbacks that we see. Is the TV show Lost has really done sort of like reinvented, I think, the flashbacks basically, where they show. Have you seen Lost? Or?
Yeah.
Yeah, where they show the people on the plane and what their life was like
Former life.
before
Yeah.
the plane crash.
Yeah.
And after that, sort of became a gimmick, and everybody and their mother started using flashbacks, and some of those flashbacks seemed forced or not really adding anything.
Yeah.
I think The Leftovers has done flashbacks in a brilliant way as well, and I think this TV show, doing the flashbacks, showing what life was like before, showing how the change was, like Roger said, subtle, but it happened. The change happened slowly, and showed basically what the world has become, since, since the sons of Jacob have taken over.
Yeah.
So there's one thing I really have to commend the showrunners and the writers, the way they use flashbacks. That's really,
Yeah, but
really
I mean, they're also
yeah.
obviously using it as creating strong parallels between what happened before and what she's going through now, because when the one-eyed girl gives birth, you see it intercut with flashbacks to her
Yes.
birth. But then they give other hints that at that time it was already the infertility problem
Yes.
already was rising a lot.
That
When
scene in
she
the
got her
hospital,
first child, so the
Oh,
child she
yeah.
That scene in the
Yeah.
hospital was
And the
a good
lady,
scene.
does the
And the
lady
lady
steal the baby?
steal- yeah,
that's that's another hit, like saying like people became very desperate. It's kind of like this children of man
Absolutely.
panic. Although I think
Well, it is the
children-
same kind of
same kind
trope,
of
isn't it? It's the same,
premises,
yeah, premise, yeah.
science fiction trope. Although of course here in this world there's still women. There are some women are more fertile than others, or very much more fertile.
Where some men are less sterile than
Less
others.
sterile. Yeah, but that's also what I think that's what you see. Like the intercuts and the flashbacks are like they carry the same themes over into the current time, which is played out, and yeah, they reflect on each other, and they also show, I think, how Offred tries to understand. I mean, this is normal for everybody. Everybody tries to understand things from out of their past, but it's really nice to see that, like, she tries to understand also what she went through and tries to reflect on it, what her current state is, even if it's like one of the worst things you can be in as a position in that society being forced into. She still finds light in her past to see, you know, a little bit more light in her, in the current times, which is actually the end of episode 4, where she finds even within that society there are sort of little gifts.
Yeah, something she can hold on to.
Something she can hold on to, and it's not only actually she barely talks about finding her own child in any of these episodes. It plays on the background, obviously, because it started in episode 1, but it's more about also her surviving that world, starting to survive that world and understand that world on other.
Yeah, I think
things.
she's at this point she's feeling out what the rules are and what rules she can break.
Yeah.
So I think that would be natural in that situation,
Yeah.
to work out where you can manipulate things before working out what probably is her ultimate goal, is finding her kid, right?
But that's also where the paranoia comes in. Where I think that they portrayed it very well. Is you really don't know who you can trust. So from even off Glen, you know, before she is taken, you know, like in the beginning you don't trust her. You know what I mean? Because, you know, like they play them off each other, you know, so that you don't trust anyone. The driver, you know, seems helpful, but we also don't know if you can trust him. Even, you know, Waterford, even him, when he asks her to play Scrabble, you're also still not sure, like, okay, what is his deal? You know, is he going to get Offred killed, or is he dangerous, or is he genuinely trying to connect with her? The new Afghan, you know, like, I mean, immediately you don't trust her, because I think they don't want you to trust her, but maybe she's not as bad as she seemed, because she really seems like, you know, the new Afghan. You know,
yeah, she's obnoxious, isn't she?
Definitely, you know, like, so things like that. It's
but it was in the beginning that was the same with the other one.
Of course.
So it was also, so it keeps like perpetuating.
Yeah.
Which also is in the end of the episode 4, like
With
she realizes, she says like with the Latin phrase, like it's a sign from an other Offred. You know, so she's starting to think there must have been so many like me before, or there will be after. I'm part of that.
Yeah,
it also seems to be like sort of an acknowledgement not only of her own struggle, but of the struggle of everybody.
But I also think that it culminates sort of with like the paranoia she has against the doctor, you know, when he sort of offers, you know, to impregnate her, you know, like.
Was this also played for sort of, you know, dark comedy? Because
it was a bit of comedy.
This series does try to go there sometimes, which I find also very brave.
Yeah, but also his voice already, I was like, you know, who is this guy? You know, like, his voice already is sort of like funny, and then when you see him, I don't know, it was sort of like sort of undercurrent of sort of like dark humor in that scene, definitely. But you also know if you can trust him, because for all we know, that when she says yes, do it, you know, then he presses a button and the eye comes in and takes her. You know what I mean? Like you really don't
And
know.
there could also be just a very egoistic thing. He just wants to have sex.
Exactly. All
And
this.
it's
Yeah.
like, and that is the great thing of a series, and also of this series. It works out. You have so many combating ideas at the same time. When just one scene plays out,
Yeah.
which I suppose is good storytelling and
Yeah. Absolutely.
TV series.
And I love what they do with the dead characters or the absent characters as well. I mean, Moira, we haven't seen her, but but she's such a big part of the show, part of Fred, and I really think
the
that.
flashbacks. And
I think it's very strong. But even the boyfriend, even though in episode 4 we only see like sort of like flashes of them together, hugging and kissing and things like that. But he is also still a fixture in the story, even though we have only seen him alive, I think, in episode 1.
Have we seen them like starting to date at this point?
No.
No, we haven't seen
Okay.
that. No.
That's a bit of a spoiler alert. Okay.
Yeah.
That is another flashback.
Yeah, so it's
And you learn something about them which is interesting.
Okay. So that's what I like how they do it, like that's I think one of the things that television, especially now in this golden age of television, has over cinema, is that you can have these arcs, you can build, you know what I mean, and and then the reward you get for that when it pays off, the payoff, if done well, obviously.
Yeah.
Then I think that works great, even within episodes, but also within arc spanning multiple episodes.
Was there also like a hint of her having had bigger mental problems in her former life? Because there is this moment when there is the idea that she's pregnant, but then she's like 4 or 5 days overdue, and then she tells, she has to tell because they will find out obviously that doesn't get pregnant, and then she's being like isolated, and she keeps telling like even the door is open, but she is so sad about where she is at that moment that she just is not, she doesn't put her clothes on anymore, she's depressed, and of course people would say, of course you're being repressed, so you might be, but I think there was also a hint, and also some of the characters said like, we need to bring her to a doctor because we will lose her, and not physically, but we will lose her mentally. Maybe they know much more about these people, because there's also like one of the aunties, like the older one, she kept saying also like, in your former life you were a slut. So there must have been information they use against people, of course within their high moral standards, so there's very fixed but they must have used also information from their former lives to to put them under pressure. Blackmail. It's like there are hints like that she was also within the society which was before not maybe a bit frowned upon, because the lifestyle was I'm just guessing here, her lifestyle was everybody's free and that's good, democracy, but her lifestyle might have been frowned upon already. So these are also referring back to the idea that there were always like tensions in society, even if the society before that was freer, there were always people thinking like in this or that way, and then the political swing and completely berserk towards like a fundamentalistic regime. Like they're also after a while they also talk about Europe. The masters talk about Europe. We're losing Europe to some sort of chaos. I don't know if that
you
means...
get the impression that it's not the same. I mean, that America's like that, and everywhere else there might be war in Europe. You're not sure.
Yeah,
there's also this
but they're talking about but they're talking about
propaganda, or is
exactly. Is that necessary?
What they're talking about, and I don't think he has a reason to lie to his wife, Waterford. He's talking about that the UN is not happy, and that they're trying to make deals that people don't want to, and that one of the aunts escaped. And started talking about what's going on there, and he says, it's lies and hyperbole, but she's probably just telling the truth, and it's frowned upon by the rest of the world. So it is sort of clear, I think, especially in episode 4, that the rest of the world doesn't really agree with what's going on
in the United States.
In the United States,
or 2 states, because they talked about even just 2 stars. Now we're trying to puzzle, but maybe that's not.
Yeah, so in that sense I think that's good. But for me, one of the highlights, for the first 4 episodes, I think. Oh, one was a shocker when we realized what happened to Afghan, that they did female genital mutilation on her.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that
I
was.
forgot about that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry to
that.
remind you.
That was really painful to
And I love Alexis Bledel. Though she was great in Mad Men, where she's the mistress of one of the characters.
yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
Our construction friends have started again, so I
Yeah,
apologize.
Lots of construction going
Yeah.
on.
So I might have to wrap this up, sort of.
Yeah.
And then the last point was, I think, in the last episode with the Latin, I loved how that played out through the story. I mean, that's a moment for me where actually the narration works. You know, when she talks about.
Because you don't like narration.
Oh, I
Not
think
bad.
it's lazy often, but in this scene it's perfect when she realizes. You know, first when she talks to the prefect Alfred, you know, and then things like, yeah, you know, maybe you're dead, but you're still here, reaching out to me, and things like that. When she talks to Waterford about it, and then it sort of gives her comfort, you know what I mean, like knowing what it means,
Yeah.
and then knowing sort of that, that keeps sort of the previous Alfred alive, even though she probably killed herself.
And
That's
that
what
she's
been
part
told.
of like that continuum.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's very well written and nicely acted
And Moss's acting just carries on being
yeah.
brilliant, right?
It's
With
really
the close-ups of her
Yeah.
face,
Yeah,
and she just says so much without saying a word
yeah,
often,
exactly.
right? Which is where you don't need the narration, because just her face is so expressive,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
right?
I think and if you think about all the suffering, I was like, probably Lars von Trier will try to get her for one of his projects. Like some sort of, she's like a sort of an extreme form of showing. I mean, sometimes it is close. What I was thinking about, some episodes, like there's so much information, so much happening, and it was like, okay, so where is now, you know, the time, you know, it needs to have a little bit of a breather. But sometimes I'm.
Oh, you mean you're not sure how much time has
how much
passed?
time has passed, and also like between the older state of society and the newer state of society.
Actually, this is an interesting thing. I think they show how time has passed by how pregnant the one-eyed girl is.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
it's an
Oh, okay.
interesting way of doing
right.
it.
But it's still a 9-month frame. So.
Yeah, right.
Well, it doesn't bother me personally. You know what I mean? Like I'm okay with not exactly knowing how much time it has passed.
Yeah, and also.
And then I also feel like some of the blanks will be filled in. You know, like along the way.
Mm.
I
And
think.
even how cruel the world is where she lives in, and how confined it is, when she's actually trying to escape, which is like where her friend also from former life escapes to Boston. But we knows where she gets. Maybe she gets herself killed because, you know, she tries to escape. Then they also walk through this part of a city, and it's like, it's horrible. Like there's people being killed and hanged everywhere. It's like, I mean, you see this also in the part of town they are, but it's even more extreme. Like.
Okay, so that was Handmaid's Tale, episodes 2, 3 and 4. Cut a little short, but if you are watching Handmaid's Tale, do keep on watching because it's brilliant.